Hello everybody, Reggie Time here. Today's video is going to be a live sweat session with a player I used to do some coaching work with. Now he doesn't work with me anymore, but he's just recently joined the Filipino PPP club and he got off to a great start, printed some money, hasn't had the best of weeks, he's given a little bit of it back and he just asked um, if I could watch him for a bit. I said, yep, as long as I could record it. And he said, yep, that's fine. So what you're going to be watching is a live play session of somebody playing some 20NL in a really soft, passive Filipino club. If you want to join this club you see here or any of the clubs you've seen me playing on, please get in touch. Contact details beneath the video. And I'd be delighted to hear from you. Please hit like, share, subscribe, all of those things. Comments below, more than welcome in the chat. And yeah, hope you enjoy what you're about to see. Yep, so here we are with Jorn. He's just started his session, and you were talking, Jorn, just before we started about how many tables you play. So, um, yeah, we're playing 3 today. You say you usually play 4 and 5. You feels too much for you.
Yeah, at least in this software, there's quite a lot of action due to all the limpers and that kind of stuff. So I tend to stick to 4 tables max. If action is really, really slow for some reason, I have opened up a fifth table occasionally, but I think it's only happened once or twice out of all the sessions I've played.
Yeah, I think like you can easily get 5 good tables, but if within those 5 tables you then stop playing as well, you kind of got
Yeah,
to ask yourself, is this extra table, is it adding value or is it decreasing value? Why didn't we bet that turn there with the Queen 9?
I didn't. Oh, why I didn't?
I mean, it's a limped pot. We didn't bet the flop, we didn't bet the turn. We've probably got the best hand. We've certainly got the best draw, you'd imagine. And now we're check calling over bets. That doesn't seem nice.
I would have folded there to be honest. I'm
I think against that
like
stack
I told you,
size on the
I've
flop,
been
I would just have potted. I'd just be going bet, bet, bet there against that stack size. We've got some guys limped on the flop. It's a limp pot. We've got pair and a decent flush draw. I would just have gone bet, bet, and then probably decide on the river whether to bet again or not.
all right.
I think I was a little
So
bit passive there. I think.
like I told you, things have been going not very well, so I might be playing a little bit too passive overall. I've been, because I've been playing out of position, or I feel like playing out of position in limp pots is not one of my biggest strengths. I've been running into so many weird combinations of hands that I find it very hard to put them on a range. So I really only start playing aggressively when I have like either the nuts or close to the nuts.
Yeah, I get that. I
Uh,
mean, I talked yesterday about how I've been struggling by playing out of position. But what we don't want to be doing in these games is check calling people who are playing 27-2. We want to be like, if we have a hand that's either got like,
I would have folded there if it wasn't for you asking me why I didn't bet. So that would have been my natural play, which is
no, but I
to
mean,
fold
on
here.
the flop, I think we should just start leading out there. We've got a
Okay.
hand that's got good equity against a passive player and just start betting into them. You know, I mean, they're limping in. Once he playing 27-2, we have second pair with a good kicker and a flush draw. For me, that's enough money to start wanting to. That's enough equity to start want to start like just putting decent bets into the pot against passive players. And if they raise us, fine, they've probably got us beat, but we're probably going to have a ton of equity against them still. I mean, a pair and a good flush draw against a 27/2 is going to be the type of hand you're going to want to start putting money in the pot with. And if they do raise you at some point, well, we just trust our equity and go with it. And you know, if they've got a top pair, we've got outs. If they've got a flush draw, then we're ahead. Um, yeah, those are the kind of spots where there's a lot
All
of
right.
low-hanging fruit just to go after. We don't want to be looking to. And I know you said you would have folded um, to the overbet if I wasn't talking, which for that I apologise for.
No, it's
Um,
fine. It's fine.
but in general, we don't want to be check calling too much in these games against people who love taking free cards.
No, exactly. That's something I've definitely figured out. That's why I'm playing really passively in limp pots out of position.
Yeah, these clubs are all about just make a hand or make a lot of equity and just put the money in yourself as best you can, rather than um, especially on the earlier streets where people will just call with bottom pairs with shit draws and things. Maybe on rivers when if we bet twice and everything's bricked and we don't really have like a super strong value hand, we can then think about maybe bluff catching. But checking on the early streets with top pair plus or strong draws, um, just be aggressive, mate. Just be more
Okay.
aggressive. And the other side to that is don't be betting too light too often, especially on the multi-way pots and things. You just want to like play really pretty straightforward ABC poker for the most part. You know, bet when you've got it, check fold when you don't have it. It can be boring as shit, but
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know if people have watched my video yesterday, but I had like a really, really very good month, and I've possibly played the most basic exploitative poker that I've played in a long time. It's just been very much, oh, me have big hand, me make bet, or me have fuck all, me give up. It's not interesting, but at the end of the month when you're cashing out, you know, nice amounts of money, it's like it's worth it in my opinion, because it's more interesting than playing badly and going broke.
Yeah. Clear. Um, Talking about the video, maybe this is not the right time to bring it up, but I'd like to ask you a question about the way you played your jacks out of position against someone who wasn't a full stack, and you get up and or you ended up getting beat by 4-2, I think. I'm not
Yes,
sure if you're.
I remember that hand. The reason I didn't three bet that hand um, was because he was playing something like 56-4 or something like that. So yeah, I had pocket jacks in the small blind against somebody who only has a 4% pre-flop raise. I remember at the time scratching my head thinking, how the fuck does he have four deuce suited when he's got a 4% PFR? And I was just
All
that one,
right.
yeah, that boggled my mind because normally that would be a hand that I'd be more than willing to three bet and get in against a fish. But when he only had a 4% pre-flop raise, I was kind of just set mine in, and then if I remember rightly, the bet, and I could be wrong, but his bet size it wasn't huge, and nothing made sense to me. And I think he went small over bet, didn't he? Something like that. And I thought that's a draw that's Mr. Sauce. He's just doing something goofy to try and win the pot, and he just turned up with a hand that it was absolutely impossible to put him on. And yeah, I just like smiled and thought, well, if I'm going to make a big mistake and donate a stack, let's donate it to the guys that are having the most fun and the least profit, I guess. And I tried to enjoy it from his side.
So I never limp, but I mean with deuces I do limp behind someone like this just
Yeah,
to try and get and make a set for free or almost for free. I mean.
I think it's fine. I think overlimping from too early I don't like, but overlimping from cut off some buttons against those stack depths just to try and flop a set, I have no issue with it personally. The GTO guys and the guys who kind of get a bit overexcited about aggression wouldn't like it, but I think it's completely fine and it's certainly a winning play long term.
All right.
It's not perfect poker by a long chalk, but you know if we understand why we're doing it and we look behind us and there's like one guy looked aggressive on the button, but if we just isolate, we can just call against him and try and flop a set still. If we limp there and he makes it five blinds,
I still
we still
call.
have a fine call just to try and flop
Yeah.
a set.
Yeah, clear.
Yeah, we get it. Our hands face up. We never have any strong hands in our pre-flop range, but who cares? Who really fucking cares? If you're worried about trying to be balanced and stuff in these games, then I think you're overthinking it. You know, ultimately we're playing in poker against a lot of pretty bad players, and our goal is just make hands and then just get value. That's the primary goal. It's kind of like going back to, I'm not sure when you started playing poker, but it's like to me it's like going back to 2006, 2007 in these games. So the best strategies to beat these games are the strategies that crushed it in or 6 or 7, which was just make hand, get value. None of this, we need to bet X, Y, and Z here to protect the ABC parts of our range and stuff. I mean, that's interesting and it's nice to talk about, but if it's not as effective as the strategies that were crushing the games back in the day, then unless you're planning on moving up, Why would you look at that stuff? I mean, if I was
Hmm.
ever planning on moving up limits to play against tougher players, I'd have to do all the stuff that I fucking hate doing. Fortunately, I'm not planning to do that, so I can just carry on being an ABC nit, print a load of money, and have people tell me I'm shit. But have them probably winning way less than me over the month as well, which is always a beautiful irony. You know, lots of people tell me I'm shit, then you see them talking in other forums, other places about how they're on like $1,000 downswing because they're running bad, and this, that, and the other. And yeah, so I know a lot of these players aren't making money, but they're still more than happy to tell other people how shit they are who are making money. I don't bother. I don't bother getting involved in the conversations because most of them are just angry losing regs. But yeah, I secretly and privately
So what would
enjoy
you do
their
here?
misery.
Sorry to
I would just
sorry to
fold it,
interrupt.
mate. It's rubbish. It's
All
ace
right.
four off.
Well,
It's absolute garbage.
but it is a very standard open if it wasn't for the limpers. So due to the
Oh yeah,
limpers, you
yeah,
don't open.
yeah. If it folds to us on the button, then yeah, it's mega standard. It's not a hand we're excited to play, but yeah, it's a mega standard open.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of when I sort of started playing poker for money. Was I think when Black Rain's first book came out, and he was just talking about exploit the micro stakes as much as you can. You know, open 5 or 6x with good hands, three bet 4 times with good hands, that kind of stuff.
That if you reread that book, it would do more for your win rate in these clubs than watching 1,000 hours of modern poker training content. It wouldn't improve your game, but it would massively improve your results in these games. Black Rain would beat these games for an insane win rate. And I know he's another guy who attracts his fair share of criticism, but
Yeah.
his strategies would absolutely rip these games a new ass.
So now we're just gonna bet big.
Big, 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 yeah. And hope not to get raced.
Yeah, I feel like no one check raises actual draws here either,
No,
or at least it hasn't happened to me yet.
before I c bet on these games, I used to look at people's fold to c bet stat, but I don't anymore. I look at like the top right stat, and the lower that number, the more incentivized I'm going to be to three bet. Sorry, to c bet light
But
and thinner for value. You know, if someone's up there at the 8 to 10% check raise, then maybe I won't be quite so aggressive in position. But if someone's down there at the 1, 2, and 3% check raise, you can bet thin for value and just be super happy to fold to raises versus those guys because you just know they have it when they raise.
yeah,
So you can just bet, fold to a raise happily. Well, not happily. You're never happy to fold a value hand to a raise, but you know what I mean. You can fold
hmm,
without second guessing yourself.
this might not make for the most exciting video, to be honest.
Well, cash game poker never does. You know, it's not meant to be exciting. It's, you know, I remember reading a quote years ago. I can't remember who it was from, but it's like if you're playing no limit and you're not fucking bored, then you're not doing it right because it's a pretty fucking boring game. Um, I mean, if I was playing poker purely for like the thrills and spills and the excitement, then I wouldn't be playing no limit hold'em. I'd be playing 6 plus or something like that, short deck. Um, I play No Limit Hold'em still, not because it's the most entertaining game for me, it's because it's my most profitable game. But I certainly wouldn't play it if I was just really, really bored and I just wanted to pass 2 hours enjoying myself. Then a No Limit Hold'em cash game would be the last game I would go to. We're not meant to be entertained. If we are, that's just a nice bonus.
So what's your V, Pip, and PFR in these games?
Well, if you look at my HUD stats, it's 21-15 with a 6% three bet.
Would you just lead out here? Sorry to
Um,
interrupt.
Yeah, I'd start betting. I wouldn't bet big though. Just like one. I'd just bet small three streets, like 1.5, like 2/3. And it's not the best of turn cards. I'd probably go really small here, like less than half pot. Because I'm not worried about giving him a good price in these draws because we haven't got a hand that's like massively worth protecting. That's a good river. I would probably bomb the river pretty big because now we beat all this King X. and maybe we beat 7-10, 7-9, 10-7, stuff like that. Yeah, so my VP PFR is much higher than he. This is like the good thing about my stats, I guess, because it looks like I'm still playing like a tight, aggressive slash style of poker. But I do a lot of table starting, and I'm still only 21-15. So fuck knows if my just actual stats at a six max table, I wouldn't be surprised if they're down in the 17-18% VPIP
Yeah,
region.
because that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, but mine would look like that. If I didn't table start, my stats would look like that. Without
Because when I
question.
was playing Zoom with PokerStars, it would be like 23, 24, 20 maybe, or maybe yeah, 24, 21, 23, 20, something like that. But it's just right here with all the limpers, it makes it so much harder to start a lot of, or to
Yeah, well,
really
you just
raise a
don't
lot of
get to
hands.
you don't get to open the button as much when it's folded to you because it's not folded to you as much on the button or the cutoff. So a lot of the hands that you would typically be opening from the button, say I don't know 7-5 suited, etc., things like that, ace-4 offsuits, you're not getting to open them because people have limped in front. And if the players that are still open try to open those hands, they just find themselves going to a lot of pots multi-way with 7 high and things like that, and it's hard to win at poker multi-way with 7 high, even in position. Um, so yeah, I'd say my stats would be similar to yours, possibly even a little bit tighter, because I don't really start opening my ranges up till the cut-off. I'm insanely nitty early and middle position, and I've learned that the hard way, because you're opening a lot of hands you like to or are used to open them, and you're just finding yourself out of way. Out of position in multi-way pots all the time, and I don't care how good you are, it's really difficult to win if you keep opening 8-9 suited under the gun, and you're routinely getting called from the two blinds and two people, or one person in position behind you. You go into the flop too often with 9 high in multi-way pots. In
Hmm.
games where people don't fold post flop if they have any piece or any draw, and are those spots still profitable? Maybe marginally, but they completely fucking crush your confidence and your mental game. So I just stopped opening them. I'm like, right, this is, can I open this hand under the gun and have it be profitable? Probably yes. Is it going to have a negative effect on my mindset when I keep flopping middle pair and a draw or whatever, and then either losing at showdown or getting bet off my hand at some point? What is that going to do to my mental game? What's that going to do to my enjoyment and my willingness to keep going and opening tables? I talked about it in like a couple of videos ago, and a lot of the decisions I make now are based around um, maintaining my motivation. And the thing that stops my motivation more than anything is just not enjoying it. So I just make a lot more folds now, and stay out of they're not super tough spots because you're playing out of position against passive players, but they are super frustrating spots. And if
Yeah.
there's one thing that stops anyone's grind in its tracks, it's frustration. So I just avoid spots now. I've learned like these hands in a vacuum, theoretically it's profitable to open, but long term it leads to lots of frustration and significantly reduces the hours that I play. So I'm just not going to open them. Is that a mindset leak? Probably. But again, I don't really, I'm not really caring about that sort of stuff at the minute. I know I'm not playing, super high level poker, but what I am doing is playing solid tight poker for 80 to 100 hours per month, which I know at the end of the month is going to make me the money that I want to make, to avoid having to go somewhere I don't necessarily want to go and have someone I don't respect telling me what to do. And so yeah, that's more important to me than playing 8-9 suited under the gun. But I think I got into like a bad habit for a long time of like thinking I need to be what would people think or what would people say if they saw me doing this and that, and I was doing lots of stuff. No one was watching me. I wasn't sharing the hands, and I got into a mindset of thinking, oh well, people would mock you if you didn't do this or you didn't do that or etc. And
So
then I just
sorry
sorry,
to
go on.
butt in here, but this is exactly when you told me on Thursday we're going to have a session next week. Ever since over the weekend as well, I was looking at my stats, thinking I play way too passively. If we're gonna have a session, I need to do better. Like my win rate is decent, my stats are horrible, and I think I made some pretty mediocre plays, just because I was already thinking about what people would think or what people would say,
Yeah.
which is completely ridiculous. This is a check, right?
No, no,
I
that's a
mean,
bet. He's only got a
really?
1%. He's only got a 1% check raise. We can bet for value. There's certainly lots of worse hands he can call with. Now we're in a shitty spot where we probably need to fold because he's just potted it and we've got second pair. But the guy's playing 63-10. He doesn't have to have top pair. There's so much value we can get there on the flop. I would probably fold now because I don't like paying off pot size bets against those guys. But he's playing 63-10. He's got a 1% check raise, so he's never going to raise us with a draw. And we could probably just on that board there, I would have like my 1/3 pot bet, and that would just be going 1/3 flop, 1/3 turn, check back river, just to like
Okay.
ensure he pays me off with his worst made hands and his like shit draws that he wants to call with.
Okay.
And I think we definitely,
Clear.
I mean, in that exact hand there, we probably save money by not betting because it'll look like he had something. Maybe he turned a 3, maybe he had a queen. But in general, this is why I say when it's a check raise, because if someone's got a low check raise and I've got a second pair type hand, I'll happily just bet small for 2 streets against them.
Clear.
But yeah, going back to your point about, forcing yourself to do things that you're not that comfortable with just because you think you need to be doing them. There'll be the vast majority of regs out there will be doing that shit, and it will 100% be costing them money. The more worried about what people will think about them, even though no one's ever going to fucking see it anyway. It's a bonkers thing, but it is a thing. Because if I'm thinking it, and I'm talking to you, and you're the only person I've talked to, you're thinking it. How many other hundreds or thousands of regs are thinking the same thing?
Yeah.
And I need to do this and this and this and this and this. I don't want to. It makes me uncomfortable, but I need to do it. You you don't want to be trying to force square pegs into round holes too often. If you're doing something that's really, really bad, it makes you feel comfortable, then we need to stop that. But the marginal stuff that makes you feel uncomfortable, just don't fucking worry about. Who gives a fuck what some fucking asshole losing 25 and L regular from Bishop Stortford thinks about how you played the hand in it? Who gives a fuck what he thinks? Just fuck him. Absolutely fuck him. Okay, just limp folding off the 17 bigs. Happy days. So let's have a look at your bet sizing buttons in a minute. Post flop. Let's see what you've got. Next time we're in a post flop spot, just click the set. Oh no, you better do it anyway, anytime, won't you?
It's just it's a 3-4-5. It's really
No, I mean,
it's not.
post flop. I'd lose that half
Oh,
pot, and I'd lose that 2/3 pot as well. I think like we're better having default really small and really big sizings in these games. So I'd probably have that at like 1/3, and then yeah, that's better because usually we're going to be either betting for thin value or fat value. So then you got your thin value size, you got your fat value size, and we're going to use them pretty much face up, safe in the knowledge that we're not going to get exploited for it.
all right.
That's another thing that a lot of people have. They're like, well, my default bet size of this spot is this size, but my hand doesn't want to bet that size, so I'll check. Well, no, why don't you just bet smaller then, or just bet larger or whatever. I think people are like, 'cause I see it a lot when I watch someone like the maybe not quite as good streamers, and because they like, oh, I want to bet 2/3 pot on the flop, but my hand isn't strong enough to bet 2/3 pot, so I'll check instead. Well, fuck it. When you watch the really good players, you see them using like a very wide array of bet sizes. Now they're doing it for slightly different reasons to what I'm doing it, but they're still using them to try and exploit people in various ways.
Hmm.
And if you're just saying, well, these are my sizes, you're just not you're not thinking enough. These are my sizes I use, and if my hand doesn't want to use those sizes, then I'm not gonna bet. Well, to me, you're not thinking enough. You're going to be like, right, well, perhaps we could only use this size in this spot. I like that bet for
Um,
9-6 there.
You're saying the small one for thin value and a large bet for
I'm saying against the bad players, you have your bet sizing face up and
but
just a
you're not betting you're then not waiting for the um, so I'm trying to do two things at once. So you're not waiting for the flop and see how draw heavy it is, for example, to see what kind of bet size you're going to use. Because I mean, just now I just used one third because the flop is so it's so hard to hit for him to have anything. You want to bet as small as possible, right? But that doesn't really that not like go against the thin or value. Sorry, trying to do two
yeah,
things at
don't worry.
once is a lot more difficult than I thought.
That's why I stopped streaming because you're right. It's fuck when try to talk about what you're doing to another person. It's all right when you're just making a video and you're just like verbalizing your thoughts, but try to have a conversation and play poker is not easy. That's why, honestly, that's why I don't play much poker when my wife's in or when the TV's on. Because it's really difficult to focus on what you're doing if there's anything challenging your concentration. It's really difficult. Yeah, but to go back to what you were saying, I understand the point you were making. Against bad players, I will usually just I'll bet the amount that I think that will achieve whatever it is I'm wanting to achieve. So
All
if
right.
if the flop just have raised with I don't know Queen Jack suited, and the flops come down Ace 4 5 and they've checked, then I'd probably just bet small because I'm trying to make them fold 7 8 and stuff like that. Just try to make them fold like hands that we're ahead of but have a little bit of equity. So if against a fish, if I'm just trying to make them fold weak hands, I just bet small. If on the same Ace 4 5, if I've got Ace King or Ace 4 or Ace 5, I'll just bet big and then I'll hope they've just flopped top pair or something. I'll just do. I'll use the sizings my hand wants to use against fish.
Okay.
What I'm trying to, whatever I'm trying to achieve, that is the size I will use. If I'm trying to achieve a cheap bluff against like a weak range, I'll go small. If I've got a really strong hand and I want to try and I'm kind of crossing my fingers they've got something strong, I'll use a big size.
This will be a check for me, right?
Yeah, it's a
I
rubbish
mean,
board. There's not much chance we're going to improve, and it's a very good board for the big blinds flatting range. Even though his
yeah.
flatting range is wider than usual because he's such a fish, it's just not a bob we're going to expect to get a lot of folds on. There's not a lot of turns we can barrel,
No, I
and
could go for a small bet, or at least I would
I
go
would
for a small
literally
bet.
just give up here.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I'd just totally give up. And if he
Because since
shows,
they both checked twice, I mean, getting their kings, queens, and aces out, and now I don't think it makes sense anymore. But I think at the turn,
I mean, yeah, that hand. I mean, we wouldn't have got. We would have ended up winning that pot because 9 10 would have called and Queen Jack would have folded. But bluffing total air in multi-way pots, especially on those kinds of boards in games where people are just routinely check calling with pairs and things, and
hmm
not betting them, it's just a license for frustration in my book. If we have like no pair, no draw, um, or not say if I have no pair, no draw, I typically just give up.
okay.
Um, Heads up, maybe if someone checks twice, I maybe think about bluffing, but not multi-way.
So how would you handle this? I would.
I would just raise this to like 7 blinds.
All right, yeah, I usually 4x straddles, but that's kind of the same. So against straddles, I don't really, I kind of go at them as if they were sort of limps, but slightly worse.
So we
They're,
want to
they're
think about
definitely,
just one sec. We want to think about betting here in an amount that allows us just to jam the turn. So he's got 40 blinds left. We probably want to bet about 8 blinds, and then that'll just give us a pot size shove on the turn, won't it? Do you want to like bet smaller now to allow him to like call with some stuff maybe, and then so in spots like that against these stacks, you want to be really careful with your flop sizing to make sure that you're setting up stacks correctly for the future streets. If
yeah.
you Because you could easily just say I'm going to bet 12 here, but that might make him fold 7 or 5x. Whereas if you bet 8, maybe you at least get one street from from that type of thing, because there's just dead easy to be like, oh, the pot's big, I've got top pair, but you only had 40 blinds, so we didn't
Hmm.
need to bet super big
No,
because we're going to
I
get
would have gone
everything
smaller
eventually
three
anyway.
times, I
Oh, you would
think.
have gone smaller there, would you? Right, okay.
Yeah, I would have. The only thing we're afraid of is an ace, I think. If he has an ace, king would be nice. So I would just go small and then get him all in on the river if possible.
Yeah, I think I'm a bit greedier than you. I think I want to get him all in on 2 streets if I can.
So now because he's a horrible player and our hand is better, I usually go 5x if I know that there's two fish
I'd
in the
go happily go.
line. So
I'd happily go 6 or 6.5 XR against a player with those
okay.
stats. Happily, be delighted to. Because I against these players, a strategy that I do that works a hell of a amount of the time is 6x it, and then when we miss, just c bet. I mean, but perhaps not on this board, but just see bet. This guy's having fun with his pot-sized dots.
I'm gonna just raise here. 1 second. Oh fuck! I should have pressed the time. Yeah, that's a fold.
Yeah, but now sitting pot it again. I kind of wish we'd called earlier now with that queen, but never mind. Yeah, against these like really loose passive players that like 60 V pips with like a single digit pre-flop raise. I think like raising up to 6, 7 blinds pre, and then just stabbing 4 blinds, 5 blinds on pretty much all flops. It is insanely profitable because we're using a flop bet size where they only need to fold like 25-30% of the time, and they're folding around 40 to 50% of the time, especially if we're like stabbing with overs. So sometimes when we get called, we can improve on the turn and start getting value. It is insanely profitable. You raise big pre, and then just downsize your C bets. Downsize your C bets when you don't hit, and just use bigger bet sizes when you do hit. Again, ridiculously, stupidly, exploitable. But when he's a 63-10 or whatever the hell he is, when are they ever really going to adjust to you? They're just not. They're just playing their hands. This is a spot where I go with the super small C bet. There's lots of good turn cards for us. The guy's got a 1% check raise, so that's never coming. Now we can either shove here or we can just check back and take our equity. It's one or the other. Because we have decent equity, 2 overs and a flush draw, so shoving's fine. But also just checking and try to realise it's fine too.
Unfortunate. So now I would just check back, right? We didn't.
Yeah, but it makes no sense to want to bet here now because we continue betting all our jacks. I mean, maybe he doesn't fold that on the turn when we overbet, but if we overbet there, and even if he called us with like the 8, we've still got, what, 15 out, something like that.
Mhm.
So that's a spot where I would almost certainly just put him in on the turn. Because even against top pair, we're not doing terrible, and against second pairs, we're not doing terrible, and they're going to fold sometimes too, because they're going to like make some loose floats on the flop versus a small size that can't continue versus a turnover bet.
Interesting.
So yeah, there's nothing wrong with the way you played it. You just made sure you realised your equity. But I think I probably would have gone with the overbet shove there and just tried to put pressure on his ace high floats and things, because they're going to have a lot more ace high floats because we only bet one third pot on the flop.
He did call a 4x with 8-9 off then
Yeah,
from the big blind.
it's good to know these people exist. Like I said before we started, I know you got off, you set off like a train, and then you've kind of been pulled back a little bit. But yeah, it's really hard for people to lose in this club if you're playing even close to well, because there's so many just bad players in them. I mean, I saw you select these tables before we started the video, and there was no major game selection going on. You just had your running tables with open seats clicked, and you opened 4 tables and selected 3 of them, and
Yep.
This is what we've got. You don't have to be a
I'm
game
always looking
selecting
for.
wizard in these games.
No, I'm looking for two of these players at least, and then it's like for me, it's enough to start playing. And I mean, I think it's 1 in 4 where you have more well yellows, which are bad regs, or um, the pink ones that are decent regs. I mean, usually you have 1 or 2 at the table. Sometimes you have like a full table of them, and then I just select another table. Like 9 out of 10 times, it's just the games are really good here.
How good
So I
are
know.
you mid-session in identifying that this table's gone bad? I'm going to close it.
This guy is still here, and I'm on his like direct left, so I wouldn't close it right now.
But I would close it right now because he's the only guy that's worth having, and he's only got 21 bigs. So
Yeah.
I'd be thinking I could do better than this table. I've already got 3 tables. There's probably loads more tables in the lobby. Is this the best table in the lobby for you now? No, is it fuck? So I'd
No, it
just be like,
isn't.
let's just find a different one. If the reason I'm staying at a table is a less than 40 VPIP with 20 big blinds, then I just know I can do better.
Yeah, this is slightly better.
Yeah, just a bit. 75 VPIP hanging around. There you go. So you've instantly increased your hourly rate by doing that. You instead of sticking around at a shit table, you've got this one instead, which should, way more chips to win at the table and way more players to win it from, in terms of like the bad players. I think it's something that, again, lots of players aren't very good at doing. They just get their tables up and then they just switch off from game selection because I've got my
See, I
tables now.
would.
I don't need to
I
game
would
select anymore. Yeah, we have to. I think we have to. Oh no, 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 no! I've just seen the three.
he's he's still around here, so like that's the reason I'm staying here because he has showed us a couple of times that
Yeah,
he.
absolutely. I'll be staying there for that guy because someone's going to fell him, and we've got we're in the second best seat to do that. So yeah, I would absolutely stay for him. And you've also got this MGM guy who hasn't got a lot of
Yeah, he
money,
just
but
joined.
he's just preventing a regular taking a seat. Yeah, it's something that I would encourage you to do. Is constantly be monitoring your tables, and the minute a table isn't a table you would have joined in the first place, just leave it and find another one to join. It's a busy enough club where most of the time, maybe not in the middle of the night if you're playing them, but at this time of day, we're recording this at 11:15 in the morning. At this time of day, there's absolutely no reason to be at a table that isn't very juicy. And if you are at tables that aren't very juicy, then you're just hurting your hourly. It's not enough to table select at the start of your session and then switch off from it till the end. We can just do better than that. How the fuck? Oh, you had a pair. Sorry, I was
Yeah,
about to say how the fuck did 8 high win a limped pot that just checked down there, but yeah. You can see how passive these games are, though. This is why I always boringly bang on about don't pay off, don't pay off, don't pay
mm,
off. They're just so passive. It's frustrating when you're like kind of near the top of your range, but not nutted, and we're feeling that we're overfolding. But it's 100% the right strategy in these games, unless you have a very good reason to pay off. Like you've been watching a maniac, and this guy in particular is a fucking such a maniac. You can't be folding that high in your range. But yeah, I make some. Well, as you seen, I don't know if you watched the video a few weeks back. I make some insane fucking tight folds.
I saw the aces.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be one of the ones I was thinking of. But if it walks like a duck and it's waddling, and it's quacking, then it's usually a fucking duck in my opinion. And you need to play in these games and see how passive they are, and see how infrequently people show up with bluffs in big pots. Um, to understand why overfolding is way, way better than trying to call like at equilibrium. It's just way much better. Yeah, you're going to fold some winners, but you're going to fold far fewer winners than you're going to call down losers.
Yeah, I made the mistake a few times already where I just overvalued a perfectly fine bluff catcher on like that you would use on PokerStars 10 and L, and to use it here as well. And I mean, 99% of the time you're beat.
Yeah, you're just
You
going
just
to.
really have to show up with something really good if you want to stand a chance. Just a bluff, you don't see bluffs here, especially not on the river. I feel.
No, Spraggy put a tweet out a few weeks back, which I really quite liked. It was just a bloke like lying on a bed of money doing the fucking snow angel thing, and his tweet was me if I didn't call as many rivers or something like that, and it's just so fucking right. Most players, the two simplest ways to like increase your win rates in these games is make bigger value bets on rivers, and fold to large river bets. You do both of those. If they're the only two adjustments you make and you stick to, you will significantly see your win rate increase. Just make lots more fold to large, make lots more folds to large river bets, and don't worry about them folding to your own large river bets. Just don't be like, oh, I don't want to bet too big because I want to get the call here. Just increase your river value bet sizing, decrease your river bluff catching frequencies, and you will instantly significantly increase your win rate.
I mean, also here, having an open ender, I could go for it, but I just feel like there's so little chance they're actually going to fold this hand, for example, that I just play super passively. If it's just a limp pot and I don't hit anything, I usually don't bet my draws
Yeah,
anymore,
you just bet
which
your
I
strongest
definitely would.
draws. In
Yeah.
limp pots, if you've got like a really nice draw, then yeah, just go for it. Just go bet, give up. Um, but yeah, your weaker draws, yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about them. I'd just be like, try and make your hand. They're gonna let you, or they're gonna let you have a chance anyway. Mm, interesting card.
No, it's not betting, I think, just because I do have equity against ace jack, ace king. Um,
You've improved past pocket eights and pocket sevens and stuff as well now.
that's not a very nice river.
That's a pretty dirty river, but hopefully we still win against like pocket sevens or something. Pocket
Sixes.
sixes.
I mean, I only have a 5% 3-bet here, so I wouldn't call sixes out of position. But that's me.
No, but I think we were deep enough there because we only made it 5 blinds more, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe versus that, if I was him, I'd have played it the same way. I wouldn't have called the flop. I'd just have folded the flop if I was him. I'd just have gone for the pure set man because it's only
Yeah.
5 blinds more and we're 100 blinds deep, so we're getting like reasonable implied odds. If you made it like 9 blinds, then I wouldn't call. But when you only make it 7 blinds, I think calling becomes slightly more attractive. But that possibly is one of my leaks. I do like a set man.
I know he actually plays his small pairs like this. I've seen him do it before, once or twice.
He's actually in the blinds, is he?
Oh, that guy. No.
Yeah, the button
Oh,
posted.
oh, he posted.
I know
Oh.
Voltaires very well. He's a someone I've
He's someone in
spent
the
time
club,
talking
right?
to. Yeah, he's a good player.
I mean,
He's solid.
I
If
have to
he's
mark this
raising,
one.
you want to be folding a lot. He's pretty nitty.
With the 2% check raise, you mean?
Why do people always fucking phone me when I'm making a video? Who even uses fucking landlines anymore? Fuck off. That's probably my mum at this time, but we're only going to go for another 5 or 10 minutes anyway, so I'll ring her back in a minute. She's fell over in the shower, she'll have to wait.
Appreciate it.
If you want to do this again next week, by the way, sir, I'll be more than up for it, because it's nice content for me. People like videos where there's like two hands clapping rather than just
Hmm.
me doing this. If you have time again next week, one of the days we can.
Like I told you before we started recording, I think I played about 16,000 hands in 2 weeks, so it's a big chance I have some time next week.
Excellent. Makes my life a lot easier, because I think like if I just the live play videos when I'm just talking, they're boring. But when you have two people actually having a conversation, then I think they're much more watchable.
I also enjoy the live videos you post, but that's just me. I don't mind boring content as much. I think it's
There,
just nice and relaxing
there's a
to watch.
backhanded compliment if ever I've heard one.
I
I don't mind boring content, Reg. You're all right with me.
you, you called it boring. You called it boring to start. I just kept on going. No, I think it's good to watch. It's relaxing, and you can still pick up a few things here and there. I personally I enjoy the just the live play better than the highlights.
Right, let's get this squeezed up properly.
I would go 5x. You would go higher.
I'd be making it. I'd make 10 here, so it goes to 11.
Well, almost.
There we go. Look, smaller C bet than our pre-flop raise, and they just check folding like it's fucking nothing. Beautiful.
So if you have a guy like this who's playing 58-16, and he's played over 11,000 hands, I just kind of wonder, like, that mustn't not been going too well for him, I think.
Probably isn't,
Just,
but he's only buying in for the minimum. He's probably just enjoying himself. And they're like the dead money that make these games so profitable.
yeah,
They're
true.
just buying in. They buy in for the 20 bigs. Usually they just lose them. Sometimes if they get lucky to run it up, then donate it all in one go. When I first played these clubs, it annoyed me, the 20 big blind min buy-in and so many players doing it. I was like, fucking hell, this is really frustrating. But then, this the chip accumulation over the course of the month. Still, 'cause I thought, how is it going to be possible to have a big win rate in games where people buy in so shallow? But they're just so bad, and they
Hmm.
stack off so wide. Um, yeah, it's insanely profitable. I really didn't like it at first. I was like, no, I don't like these clubs. So I want to go back to where people buy in for the maximum. But the more people you're buying in for the maximum, the more likely it is you're going to be playing against regulars. Just stack these guys 20, 30 big blinds at a time, and at the end of the month, just look at your double figure win rate and be delighted with it.
Oh, if that's a misclick, I should have called there.
I think we could definitely set mine more profitably in these clubs, because unlike
Yeah.
Zoom, you just don't see anywhere near as many, like, you don't get the early precision raises don't get attacked anywhere near as much in these clubs than they do in speed poker.
I
You couldn't profitably call pocket fives versus under the gun from middle position in Zoom, I don't think.
no,
But
no.
you certainly can in these games.
I mean, my fault to three bet here is pretty high, just because if you get three bet here, you know they have a big hand. They
Yeah,
don't squeeze. They don't really squeeze. They maybe in position if you play against a slightly better player, they do squeeze every now
yeah.
and
There's
then, or
some
they
regulars who three bet a bit
yeah.
wider, but you can quickly identify them and make the adjustment. Um, in my opinion, in these games, the people are just three betting narrow, depolarized ranges. So, if they use a size that gives us good implied odds, then make the call. Otherwise, just overfold a bit and don't care. This is where I've been making it like 8 blinds here.
I was gonna go for seven, but I mean we're close to. So it's the black rain, one out of position, one for each limper, and then just adding one or two on top because it's these games.
I just go fucking crazy when I see limps and I've got a good hand. Happy days here. We can just go small, small, small. Get all the money if he's got anything. I mean, there's some rivers that we're not going to enjoy seeing, but at this point we're committed to the pot, aren't we? Happy days. If he's backed into a flush, fuck your life.
Wouldn't be the first time in the last week.
Beautiful.
It's
Yeah, my advice to you, because we're going to wrap this up now. My advice to
Mhm.
you for the next week, before we chat again, I know we'll probably chat between sessions, but it's um, just don't overthink shit. You know, just don't overthink. Just play a remarkably straightforward game, and don't overthink. Do I have a value hand? Yes. Then let's fucking go. Do I have a um, a marginal hand? Yes, let's go, but smaller. Do I have nothing? Yes, let's give up. Um, and like you say, you're playing at the moment to try and make a few bob, and the easiest way to do that is just play a really basic style of poker and look at your results at the end of the week or the month, not at the end of the day.
So what would you do here? He came in from the blind,
Again, I would
so
just go really small. I bet like two and a half, three blinds, something like that.
interesting. Because I would normally check back here.
But we know the raise isn't coming because he's got a 2% check raise. So we can happily just bet at the flop, just stab our entire range on a board that's good for us, and only continue on turns that improve us, like to a spade or a 10 there, something like that. Maybe continue betting with that. Maybe check back, realise our equity. But I just stab really small. Look at the guy. Anyone who's got like a 2% check raise, um, I just stabbed really small against. Yeah, it's just so
Mhm.
profitable. We're risking like 3 blinds to win 10. It's got to work like 25% of the time. This guy's folding to C bets over 50%. It's just an insanely profitable bet.
Yeah. Well, all right. Thanks a lot.
No worries,
Um,
sir. It's been fun. I genuinely enjoyed it, and if
Me
you're
too. Me
around
too.
next week, I'm around to do this again because I think
I'm
the
I'm
viewers will
definitely
enjoy
around
it for
next week
sure.
Thursday.
Hopefully, you get something from it. The viewers enjoy it. I get a video. It's win-win-win, isn't it? And I don't think I've farted, which is a shame because the video I put out
Not yet.
yesterday has got
I
the views have spiked way quicker than usual for it, and I think it's basically because of the fart. I need to start doing that more often. I think.
just the last hand. I would just check back here because he raised.
Did he
I'm
raise the
not gonna.
right? So
Yeah,
who's
he
raised here?
raised.
Right, he's raised. The other guy's called.
So
Um,
now I would actually start betting.
yeah, but again, I would just probe here. I'd be like 2.5 blinds, 3 blinds, something like that. Because we're against two relatively tight players. Well, no, we're not. What's the? Are we? I can't really see the stats of the guy tagged red. It's a bit
He's,
small on
he's
my
he's a little
screen.
bit more aggressive.
He used raise as a term, which makes absolutely no sense, but it's probably not a bluff.
No. So then we just fold here, even though.
Yeah, he's raised. We've bled into 3 players multi-way, and he's raised. So yeah, good for him. He's caught us.
Wow. All right.
Would you not have folded there?
Um, yeah, I would have folded this one. If I would have had a slightly better hand, let's say I would have a something that would be small pair, so I would have two pairs. I would never have folded there, and I would probably have paid him off because
Yeah,
I
I think if we
think what
have
he
two
had there
pair
was very
there,
strong.
we probably. But if we have two pair, we bet bigger, don't we? So um, I think that when you use the small sizes, sometimes it can be tempting to call raises with hands we maybe shouldn't because we think,
Mhm.
oh, maybe our small size has triggered something. Um, but I mean, how often really is somebody like racing in a multi-way pot without a really strong hand? And fine, we've lost a small pot with top pair, medium kick, a big deal,
Yeah,
big
yeah. I
deal.
mean, in Zoom, that people do get triggered by the super small bet sizes. Here, I feel like they don't do that
No,
much.
they just see a small bet, so I think, oh, that's cool. I can call that. I was scared he was going to bet bigger, but he hasn't, so I can just call. And it's fine to be bluffed now and again. It's just whatever we get bluffed, big deal.
All right. Well, thank you
Excellent,
very
sir.
much.
I really
I
enjoyed
think I'm
that.
just going to keep on playing for a bit, and thank you very much, and let's talk next week.
Yes, absolutely. Cheers, bud.
All right. Bye bye.